Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the chapter number 1 of NCERT class 11th, the living world. First of all, we will describe what is living. What do you mean by living life? Right. So it is very difficult to describe about a living or life. What is life? It is very difficult to describe even for the scientists, but they have given us almost a relevant definition, you can say, for describing a life. That is, it is a complex organization of various molecules which undergo numerous kinds of interactions which lead to growth, development, reproduction, adaptation, and response to the stimuli. So basically, what do we see? Our body is made up of cells, whether it is unicellular or multicellular, or every organism has a fundamental unit, that is a cell, and inside the cell various kinds of reactions are going on. That is, few molecules are being synthesized and few molecules are being degraded, broken down, and each and every reactions have certain kind of purpose to give us that particular type of thing to survive, right? So basically, a cell has, every living organism perform metabolism. And metabolism, what do you mean by metabolism? It means it is categorized into two parts, that is anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism, where the molecules are being synthesized, proteins are being synthesized, carbohydrates are being synthesized, amino acids are being synthesized, right? So these things are being synthesized inside our body, that leads to growth, development, reproduction, adaptation, and there are various molecules that are interacting with each other so that we can respond to the stimuli. And what is catabolism? Catabolism is breaking down of the complex molecules to the simpler, so that our cells or our body can get energy to perform various kind of functions that are needed for our survival, and waste materials are eliminated out of the body. So a basic if you want to recognize a life or living thing, the most important characteristic is the metabolism, right? Moving to the next, characteristics of living organism. So what is characteristic of living? How can you recognize whether it is a living thing or non-living thing? So for this, there are various different characteristics that we have to recognize. First characteristic or property is definite shape and size, right? So all the living organisms have definite shape and size which may change within a narrow range, right? Take an example of human being, right? So its height, weight may be different, but overall all the human beings can be recognized with definite shape, size, morphology, right? So all the living organisms have their own definite shape and size, and due to this property, living organisms are called morphous. Non-living matter is termed as amorphous. They do not have a definite kind of shape and size. We can, of course, there are crystals, but that is another story. Now, organization. Second point is organization. So what do you mean by organization? Organization is means all the our suppose our body is an organism, right? And it is made up of different organ system. Again, organ system is made up of organs. Organs are made up of tissues, and tissues are made up of cells. Cells are made up of cell organelles. Cell organelles are made up of various biomolecules, and biomolecules are made up of elements, atoms, molecules, right? So there is proper organization of all these molecules from one level to another, and these are arranged in an orderly manner to form a living organism, and that is why it is known as living organism because of this organization system, right? Now the growth and development. So what is growth and development? So growth is permanent and irreversible change in size of a cell, an organ, or whole organism, right? And development is the sum total of changes that occur in an organ or organism during its lifetime. Means substances present inside our body is continuously changing, right? Continuously it is increasing, you can say, because we are growing. In unicellular organism, growth means multiplication also. Cell size may get increase. In animals, growth occurs up to a certain age, right? After which cells divide, but it is only to replace the wounded part, right? We can heal, that's it. But in plants, what happens? Growth continues throughout the life due to the presence of meristematic cells, and cell division occurs regularly. So this is also the important characteristic of living organism. Metabolism, the most important characteristic of living organism. Reproduction means multiplication of organism to continue a particular race. Here what is happening? Lower organism has binary fission, that is asexual mode of reproductions, many kinds of asexual reproduction, and higher organism has sexual mode of reproduction. Plants have vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction, and sexual reproduction too. So reproduction is not essential for survival, but it is essential for the continuation of a particular kind of species on the earth. Now, homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis is the maintenance of constant and favorable internal environmental condition suitable for functioning of body organs. Means if temperature is going to increase outside, we are human being, we live at a particular places which has particular temperature, it varies within a particular range. But when we move to a very colder region, what happens? Whether our body temperature get decreased? No, we are adapting ourselves to our body temperature is maintained accordingly, so that all the functions performing inside it will run smoothly, right? So homeostasis, maintenance of constant body temperature. Then we are also maintaining, our body is also maintaining the constant level of water and ions in the body, so that metabolic reactions should not get hampered, it should not get damaged. Otherwise what will happen? We may die. So all the living organisms show this kind of characteristic, that is homeostasis. Then consciousness. What is consciousness? Consciousness means awareness of surrounding and response to the external stimuli. Stimuli means if someone will pinch you, what will you do? Your body will automatically react to it. So pinching is a stimuli, and whatever reaction you showed just now is the response. So all the organism present on this earth show response to a certain stimuli. And one special feature what humans have got is the self-consciousness. Means we have that property to be conscious of certain conditions that are going to happen, right? So that is awareness of self, right? So this is the unique feature of human. Now adaptation. Adaptation means we are getting adapted to certain kind of environment, right? And it is very useful for the survival. Sometimes it get inherited. An organism is considered best adapted to an environment when it possesses inherited traits that enhances its survival and breeding in that environment, right? So it can be inheritable also, and this may lead to evolution. Means it play a certain, up to certain extent, for the evolution play a major role, you can say. And now evolution is what? Means diversification, or evolution means evolving a new kind of characters, right? That will be best suited for the existence of any kind of organism. or in another way you can say it is the revelation of the hidden potential. Next is the repair and regeneration. What is repair and regeneration? Repair means to renew damaged or lost body parts. Right? All the living organisms heal their wound and repair their damaged part. It is the best example. And regeneration, like you might have seen wall lizard, it loses it loses its tail, and again it gets regenerated. We are regenerating our nails. Best example is liver can be regenerated. And so these are the characteristic of living organism. And of course this is aging and death. It is also an interesting characteristic of living organism. Aging is with the passage of age, as we grow, deterioration in a structure and function of an organism happens. Right? Aging starts even before our birth, means when we are in the form of a single cell, double cell, triple, and that is blastula gastrula stage. At that time only aging start. Study of aging is called gerontology. It is also a characteristic of living organism. Now death. What is death? Every one of us is afraid of death. Most of us, not everyone, I can say. Death is the ultimate termination of functional life, and study of death is called thanatology. Right? It is the most important regulatory process. Market, it is the most important regulatory process, because it prevents from overcrowding on the earth, and it brings recycling of the material. So it is also an important characteristic of living organisms. So these all are the characteristic of living organism. Now biodiversity. What is biodiversity? You have understood the characteristic of living organism. So when you move around, you can see various kinds of different kinds of living organism. So the number and types of organism present on this earth are the biodiversity. Right? So these are the range, that is 1.7 to 1.8 million. These are, and why naming of living organisms are required. There right now you have seen that is living organism ranges from 1.7 to 1.8 million. और उन सभी को स्टडी करना, एक एक इंडिविजुअली एक एक का नाम जानना, इट इज़ मोस्ट डिफ़िकल्ट एंड टीडियस वर्क. दैट इज़ वाई साइंटिस्ट हैज़ what they require to classify it and name it. Right? Naming is very important for living organism by the scientist. Why? Because जब हम इंडिया में रहते हैं, लाइक इंडिया में भी बहुत सारे स्टेट्स हैं, सिटीज़ हैं, विलेजेस हैं, वहाँ के लोकल लैंग्वेजेस हैं. जो नाम से हम यहाँ पे बुलाते हैं किसी भी एक चीज़ को, अदर लैंग्वेज में इट्स मीनिंग गेट्स कम्प्लीटली चेंज्ड. एंड थिंक अबाउट द पीपल सिटिंग इन द different parts of the world. They will get confused. If we speak about something, they will get confused. They can't understand. So एक मेथड निकाला गया नेमिंग करने का, एक पर्टिकुलर काइंड ऑफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म को, कि उसे उसी पर्टिकुलर नाम से दुनिया के हर लोग बुलाए, ताकि साइंटिफिक वर्ल्ड में या फिर ऐसे भी लोग उसे तुरंत बोलने से पहचान जाए. ओ दिस पर्टिकुलर पर्सन इज टॉकिंग अबाउट द मैग्नीफेरा इंडिका, मीन्स मैंगो. दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मैंगो, दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट आम, लाइक दिस. राइट? सो दैट इज़ वाई नेमिंग ऑफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स were required, and scientists found the way to name it. Nomenclature is nothing but it is just naming an organism in the scientific way. What is binomial nomenclature? Binomial nomenclature is nothing but it's naming an organism according to certain rules. So here you can see Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is the scientific name of human. It has two domains. Homo, it represents genus name, and sapiens represent the species name. So Homo starts with the capital letter H, and sapiens starts with the small letter S, and it is underlined. always we have to think that, not think means कि जो भी साइंटिफिक नेम लिए जाते हैं वो लैटिन वर्ड से लिए जाते हैं. अगर भी नहीं लिए गए हैं तो उसे कन्वर्ट किया जाता है इन द लैटिन वर्ड, एंड टू रिप्रेजेंट इट शुड बी रिटन लाइक दिस. If you are not underlining and then you have to bring it in the italics form to represent its proper name, right? Now the taxonomy. It is originated from the Greek word taxis means arrangement and nomos means law. So it is generally the principles of arrangement of living organism in particular category or classifying it. So A.P. de Candolle was the scientist who coined the term taxonomy, and Carolus Linnaeus is the father of taxonomy. No proper definition is the process of classifying an organism on the basis of characteristic is known as taxonomy. It is done on the basis of identification, nomenclature, and finally its classification. Why do we study taxonomy, or what is taxonomy? Under the taxonomy, we are identifying an organism, naming it, and finally classify it according to a particular hierarchy. So we can understand it more clearly by taking an example. Like if I'm giving you an organism and you haven't seen it before, so what will you do to classify it or naming it? First of all, you will have to identify it. And how will you identify it? You will identify it by observing it carefully. You will note down its appearance, its morphology, how is it made up of, where is its eye situated, where is it, if this organism doesn't have any eye, suppose it is an organism, you will see its morphology, shape of the cells, its habitat, ecological relationships, developmental process, its internal structure, mode of reproduction, cellular structure. All these characteristics you will see, and on the basis of it you will identify, yes, this may be this kind of organism. You will take help of taxonomic aid, right, and you will identify it. After its identification, you will give its proper name according to the scientific method, so that its name, पहले से इसका नाम और कोई ये नाम चूज करके किसी और ऑर्गेनिज्म का ना रखा हो. इट शुड हैव अ यूनिक नेम. उसके लिए you have to follow certain kinds of rule, right, and according to it you will give name to that particular organism, and finally you will classify according to this taxonomical hierarchy. So the hierarchy means what? Hierarchy means levels, ranks from the highest to the lowest. So all this are the taxas, species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, and this kingdom, right? So kingdom is the highest hierarchy of taxonomy, and species is the lowest rank or taxa, you can say, in this taxonomical hierarchy. So you will arrange that organisms, you will group, you will place it in a certain group, like from what kingdom it's belong, from where, in which phylum it belongs, in which class it will come, in what order, family, genus, species, and accordingly you will classify that particular organism. What is systematics? Often people get confused with the two terms, that is taxonomy and systematics. Systematics is nothing but it is taxonomy plus the establishing the evolutionary relationships between the living organism, right? Systematics includes identification, nomenclature, and classification. And this identification, nomenclature, and classification is also done in the taxonomy also, but here you are taking into account evolutionary relationship between living organisms. So you can see taxonomy falls within systematics, right? Now taxonomic aids. So these are the taxonomic aids: keys, botanical garden, zoological park, museum, herbarium, manuals, catalog, monographs. तो botanical park or zoological park, these are the living taxonomic aid, and others are non-living aid. Key taxonomy. What is key? It is a kind of booklet, right, and used for identification of plants and animals. It is based on similarities and differences among plants and animals. Like it will have two contrasting characters, whether it has 2 years or not. If yes, then go to this page number and proceed. If yes, if no, then go to this number of page and proceed accordingly. So it will always have contrasting characters, and you will have to make choices between two. You will accept one and other will be rejected, and in this way you will characterize it and identify it finally. Now botanical garden. So botanical garden, here living plants are there, and each plants are labeled with particular name, botanical name, family, and the person who invented given its name or invented it, like that it is labeled with that. Zoological parks, wild animals are kept there in protected environment. Means wild animals will be given almost exactly the same environment as they used to live, right? So this is zoological park, and you can, if somebody wants to take its reference to identify any organism, they can take its reference there. Museum means it is generally present in the educational institutions, और ऐसे भी रहते हैं जहाँ पे क्या करते हैं, प्लांट्स और एनिमल्स को प्रिजर्व करके रखा जाता है, right? In college universities also you might have seen that containers or jars are there in which chemicals are present, and inside that specimens of small organisms are kept, right? So insects are preserved in insect boxes after collection, killing and pinning. Birds and mammals are usually stuffed and preserved. Means birds और large birds and mammals उसके अंदर stuffing किया जाता है और preserve करके रखा जाता है, और उससे भी लार्ज एनिमल्स है तो उनके स्केलेटन्स को रखे जाते हैं. हर्बेरियम. व्हाट इज हर्बेरियम? अ स्टोर हाउस ऑफ कलेक्टेड प्लांट स्पीसीज दैट आर ड्राइड, pressed and preserved on sheet. These sheets are arranged according to the universally accepted system of classification. Each sheet carries English, botanical and local names, family, कलेक्टर्स नेम, जिसने उसे कलेक्ट किया है वो सारे नेम्स वहाँ पे लिखे रहेंगे. इन इट सर्व्स एज अ क्विक रेफरल सिस्टम इन टैक्सोनॉमिकल स्टडीज़. नाउ मैनुअल क्या होता है? इट इज़ हैंडी मीन्स यू कैन कैरी इट. इट कंटेन्स बेसिक एंड यूजफुल इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफ ऑल द स्पीसीज फाउंड इन एन एरिया. मीन्स कि एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया में जितने भी स्पीसीज प्रेजेंट हैं उनके बारे में इसके अंदर इंफॉर्मेशन होता है, और जब कोई किसी को आइडेंटिफाई करना रहता है तो इससे रेफरेंस लेके एक पर्टिकुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म को आइडेंटिफाई किया जा सकता है. नाउ द कैटलॉग. इट कंटेन्स स्पीसीज नेम एंड बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफ द स्पीसीज. Also their classification, that is taxonomic classification. It can be referred when you want to get few basic information about the species, and also you might be able to classify it. What is monograph? Monograph contains information of any one taxa. Like कोई भी एक टैक्सा जैसे स्पीसीज हुए तो स्पीसीज के बारे में वहाँ पे मेंशन होगा, या क्लास, किसी एक पर्टिकुलर क्लास के बारे में मेंशन होगा, या किसी एक पर्टिकुलर ऑर्डर के बारे में वहाँ पे मेंशन किया गया होगा. मोनोग्राफ मीन्स सिंगल, एक सिंगल ऑर्डर के बारे में, एक सिंगल क्लास के बारे में, एक सिंगल. ईच मोनोग्राफ, अलग अलग मोनोग्राफ्स होंगे जिसमें एक में किसी एक पर्टिकुलर ऑर्डर के बारे में मेंशन किया गया है तो दूसरे में किसी दूसरे ऑर्डर के बारे में. इस तरीके से हम इसका भी रेफरेंस ले सकते हैं एक पर्टिकुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म को आइडेंटिफाई करने में. तो दिस इज़ ऑल अबाउट द चैप्टर 1, दैट इज़ द लिविंग world. I hope you might have understood it. Thank you.